All right, fam. Today, I'm going to cover one of the most transformative things that I learned in my business, actually all of my businesses, that completely took my business from doing shitty, inconsistent cash flow months where I just didn't know where the money was going to come from next to honestly super consistent, but more importantly, predictable months. And then being able to understand what levers to pull when I needed a very specific outcome. So I'm going to teach you the system that completely transformed this for me, but more specifically, it's the simple formula for 30K months. And that's what I want to cover with you guys today. Now, this is a system that it helped me build my first business, which was a gym, helped me build to 60K months at our top end, which was fantastic. You know, I was barely making $10,000 a month when I first started working with a mentor, and to be able to install a lot of this and get myself to 60K, use that business as a vehicle to buy vacation property in Arizona where I wanted it to be, provide me some income, and most importantly, provide me some time. That was the dream for that business. When I started Perfect Day Business Mentorship, to get that company to 100K a month needed me to go all in on the concepts that I'm going to teach you today. And so the fact that it can transform different types of businesses in different types of industries from all over the revenue spectrum that's how powerful and how pivotal it was that I'm going to teach you today. And not only with myself, but this is the exact simple formula that I teach inside of my mentorship program called the CEO Clubhouse. And together we've accumulated $2.8 million in client wins just using this as a base for how we build our businesses. So if your business is having those inconsistent cash flow months, if you're wearing all the hats, if you're the nucleus in your business and you can't step away, this is going to be something that you definitely want to just sit down, take a piece of paper and a pencil out and just work alongside me so that you can audit what your business and what your marketing looks like and simplify everything, completely cut the crap, trim the fat, and make your business a super straight line, streamlined process. Okay. So it really has to do with 5 C's. And I want to walk you through this. And first and foremost, by no means is this an original idea of my own. I actually learned this from my mentor, Taki Moore, and he teaches as the 5 1s. So I've applied it into our business in the CEO Clubhouse in the same premise, but hey, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and I definitely stand on top of Taki's shoulders. So let's get into it. The first C that I think is one of the most underutilized categories in our business is just understanding what category you actually work with. This is about your audience. And we need to understand that just because we can work with everybody doesn't mean we should. And in my first business, which was a gym, this is a perfect example of that. I thought that health and fitness was for everyone, and it is. Don't get me wrong. Health and fitness is something that everybody should incorporate into their lives, but it doesn't mean that you need to build your business targeting absolutely everybody and their dog. So once I understood that, if I could get more granular about the audience that I was talking to, and so when I started changing the language to our marketing and really talking to just busy adults who had families, who were racing all over, chasing their kids and didn't really have the time to focus on themselves, that's when everything kind of really started accumulating. That's when more people started listening and they were engaging better, which meant that they wanted to actually have conversations with us about starting in the gym. And it got a heck of a lot easier to acquire new clients just because we had tailored down our audience. It's the same thing in your business. Just because what you do might be able to help everybody doesn't mean that you should. Okay, so understanding that you can be super broad about your niche, but you can also be super specific. All right, so that might be, maybe you work with one large, broad, along the horizon type of audience, but the people within that audience, it's super narrow with qualifiers for them. So for example, inside of PDBM, we work with small service-based business owners, and that's a really broad spectrum, but we only work with business owners who are stuck in that $8,000 to $10,000 a month range, and that's a really specific part of the niche. Your business might operate the same. You might be a nutrition coach who works with perimenopausal women, and so that's really specific. But being able to hammer that down and really narrow it down means that your marketing message is going to land so much better with the audience that you're talking to. And I think one of the major hesitations I get right here is, well, Taryn, if I only talk to a very particular audience, then I'm going to miss out on opportunities of getting more more clients. But that's actually not true, because now your message is going to land better with the right people. And so you're actually going to increase the impact of those opportunities. You're going to work with the right types of people you love working with, people who actually want your help. And so it's actually going to get easier to acquire new clients. So the very first avenue of our business that we need to get really simple on is the category of the people that we work with. And just remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Keep it super narrow. The second piece of our business is our claim. This is your promise, okay? This is what you're telling your clients, your prospects, your audience, what it is exactly they will get by working with you. What is the promise that your program, your service delivers on? And I think small business owners really struggle with this, because whether they don't have enough confidence to commit to the result, or they don't have enough experience to commit to the result. So stick with what you know, stick with what you've had experience with, and stick with what you can provide and what problems you can solve. And that is going to make your promise that much more clear. The other thing with this promise is we want to make it super specific. We want to make it tangible. You want to make it pointy. You want to be able to say, this is exactly what you're going to get. So maybe you put some metrics to that promise. You're going to help them get this many new clients in this many days, or you're going to help them make this much more money in this many days, or lose this much weight in this many days. The more specific you can get about that promise, the better. Your promise is important because it changes your delivery to your results. And the whole reason these people are coming to work with you is because they want those results. So that's going to be very important to understand that if this is the promise, this is the delivery that has to happen so that you can ensure these types of results. And then what it also does is the people that you bring in, they actually want what it is that you're promising. So now you not only are talking to the right amount of people or the right types of people, but those people that are coming in are going to be even better qualified because they want what you provide and they are probably willing to pay for it. Okay, so get super tight on who you're talking to, and then get super tight on what you're telling them you're actually going to do. And from there, that brings us to the next one. If we know who we're talking to and what it is we're going to do for them, the next part to put together our craft. And so this is focusing on the delivery. Now, here's where this goes a little haywire, because usually when I start working with small business owners, they have 10 different offers, 5 different ways people can get started with them, 4 different roadmaps that they can travel down in order to get to whatever the result is, if they even have a promise put together. It's so convoluted, which means if it's complicated for you, it's incredibly complicated for the prospect you're talking to. And so if you're working on just growing your business, then you need to get very good at delivering the promise on one thing, because every time you add another layer to it, it only just gets more complicated, which means less results or taking longer to get to those results. So focus on one craft, just one thing. Do one thing really fucking awesome. And then once your business is where you need it to, then you can layer on the other parts. One of the most important lessons I learned when I got to this point was that anytime that you have multiple layers to your offer, you now have that many more layers to your marketing. And 9 times out of 10, the small business owners that I'm talking to doing shitty marketing to begin with on one thing, never mind trying to layer in 5 different things. So if you get really good at just one thing, it's going to make your marketing that much more simple. Okay? Your job at this point, get super good at that one thing and collect as many results as you can. You want to stack social proof here. Social proof is what you're going to lay into your marketing that is going to create attention and capture attention. So results has to be your focus at this point until you get your business moving. Which brings us to the next part. One simple way to capture new leads and to capture new client acquisition. Okay, so leads and client acquisition. We want one simple straight line for how you get new leads and how you turn those new leads into paying clients. Okay, so this might look like your short form content. You get them onto your email list. You get them onto that's a phone, guys. You get them onto a phone and you make a sales call, and then they become a paying happy client. Okay, you want to be able to draw this out in a very straight line, and most small business owners that I talk to cannot do that because it webs out 15 different ways of how they capture attention. And then if it even webs out to the next part, which most can't even say that much, but if it does, they've got 6 different directions that they then present people. And then if they even have a sales mechanism, they've got 10 different directions that a person can move at that point, all before this person becomes a paying happy client. So being able to understand that if you just do this one thing and it triggers this next thing in the sequence, and it triggers this third thing in the sequence. To just be able to clearly lay that out in a straight line, that alone is going to make it so much more simpler for people to work with you, which means that less confusion, easier buyers. Okay. The other reason that this is important is because it gives you control. And I'm going to put this in capital letters because that is such an important word right now, especially when you're just starting out to build your business. You don't know what's working and what's not working when you've got things moving in 15 different directions. So the more simple you can make this, then the more control you have over which lever you're pulling to make changes. If you're making changes at different points in the system all at the same time, you don't actually know which one is working and which isn't working. And so everything is just basically shooting spaghetti at the wall. So when it's simple as in this leads to this, leads to this, to leads to this, then I can focus on making one change at a time to each process in the system and know whether that change is actually resulting in what I need it to or not. So control of the levers, like that at this point is just about data collection. It's about making the right decisions. And that brings me to the last part, which is your cadence. And you can have all other 4 elements of this formula in check, but if you don't have this last one, you're just not going to grow your business in the ways that you want it. And so the cadence means do it for 1 freaking year, because the chances are the changes you've made, the things you might have implemented in your business, you're not doing it long enough to actually reap the results that you want. And so if you can commit to doing this simplistic formula for 1 year, then absolutely your business is going to be incredibly different in 365 days, okay? Because in this 1 year, your job is reps and volume. It means how much of this system, how much of just this can I put out? How many reps and reps and reps of that? How many reps and reps and reps of this? Because if the more reps of this system I can put out, the more that's going to tell me that, hey, I can actually get results. And if I can get results, then I know that the promise is actually sticking. And if I can know that the promise is sticking, then that means that I'm talking to the right people, that what I'm saying is actually resonating, that what I have to help them with are things that people actually want help with and are willing to pay money for that help. So reps and volume is your main goal in this point, just so that you can test, gather data, make decisions, excuse my chicken scratch here, make decisions, and then go all in on the stuff that's working and cut the stuff that's not working. And that's when you look at the people who are the most successful, the people that are growing their business to levels that you want to be, it's simply because they do this faster than anyone else. Their speed to implementation is so fast. They're putting all these steps out, they're testing them, they're gathering data, they're looking at the data, and they're making decisions based on the data. They're keeping the things that are working and doubling down on them, and they're cutting the things that aren't working on them. But you can see that if you don't commit to reps and volume, you can never get to a position where you can decide if something is working or not. And so the more reps and volume you can accumulate, the more data you have to work with, the more control over the levers you have, and the more you can double down on the things that are actually working. And so this system alone completely changed both of my businesses, absolutely both of them. And it was a large contributor to what grew PDBM so fast, because when I was watching all the people that were above me where I wanted to go, who were building businesses to levels that I wanted to be, when I heard their stories and could dissect the things that they had done, it boiled down to this, as simple as possible. It's not more, it's not big teams, it's not 10 layers of marketing. It's do one thing really well, gather the results, and double down on the things that are working until you get your business where you need it to be. And at that point, then you can start introducing more layers to the system. I hope this was helpful for you. This was incredible, such a pivotal lesson for me to learn many years ago. And it's one that we consistently teach inside the CEO Clubhouse because it is that important for small business owners to understand and implement. If this was helpful for you, grab the link, share it with a friend. Make sure you drop me a follow on Instagram at Taryn Dubreuil. And if you're interested in to hear about what the CEO Clubhouse is about, just DM me the number 99 and I'll send you a document with everything that we do inside. Hope this was helpful. Rock your day.